Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Ryan. So I am here to talk about our first full week of college football. We had our first full week, and for the entire month of August, we had been showing different players that we were interested in, guys that we thought we were going to have good seasons, or guys that we were keeping an eye on that we thought could break out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to update you on how those guys went. I don't have any clips or anything like that this week, but we're going to quickly try to roll through everything and just talk about how each player did. Um, so, starting first, we're going to talk about Clev Lubin. So, Clev Lubin for Louisville, first time going from Coastal Carolina to Louisville, a bit step up in competition, and he was dominant. He looked exactly like what I expected. Everything that I had seen at the lower competition, he looked exactly like that. He had 2 sacks on the game. He had a few more pressures than that, and his speed rush and bend was just incredible. So I think that's a very, very good sign, and I'm going to be interested to see if that continues across the season. I called it that he was going to be a charger up the draft boards, and I think that's going to continue. So really loved what he did. um, so now quickly we're going to get into Isaiah Nokobia, safety out of SMU. Going to be honest, he was a bit of a letdown to me overall. I thought he was outshined by other players on his own team. He performed fine in coverage. He had a couple pass breakups, but he didn't grade out too well in that. And one thing that I thought he was good at beforehand was as a tackler, and he missed a couple tackles he clearly should have made. And so, maybe that's just that early season rust. But that's something that I was not excited to see. So I think he needs to hopefully have a bounce back week this week, but we'll see from there. And then a guy that everybody knows that got outplayed on the national stage, Cade Klubnik. Now, I know Matt spoke about him a little bit in his video, but because he had him so highly rated. So I'll just spend a little bit of time there. But he looked like his progress that he made last year throughout the season was gone. It looked like he was starting back over at early 2024. He looked like he did in early 2024. And I don't really know why that was. It could be because it was such a big game on such a big stage. But you wouldn't think that would be the case with him. His feet and his mechanics seem to be like all over the place, which is something that when you're not maybe the athlete that everybody else is, you have to be good at those things. And his decision making was poor. He kind of looked unprepared. He did not look like the quarterback that I was expecting to potentially, be the clear cut QB1. Um, but it's an early in the season. He could get that back, but I guarantee you there are going to be teams that look at that game and how he performed and look at it as a potential reason to stay away. Um, so next we're going to get into D'Angelo Pons, my undersized cornerback. Um, for him, he had a nice interception. I didn't see a ton from him. He wasn't targeted a ton either. So it's a little hard to judge it because he wasn't involved too much. But he did have that nice interception and another pass breakup as well. Um, the thing that I saw about him that made me love him even more was there was a play. The game was already over. It was won. There was no chance the team was coming back. And he still chased down this player on a broken play. Now the player did score on the play, but he kept running down the field and tried to make the tackle. That's something that a star player might not do, especially in a game when the game has already been decided. So I thought that was awesome. He had no quit in him. I feel like one of the most talked about players this week, at least on my circle on X, was Whit Weeks, the linebacker out of LSU. He was all over the place. His stats won't show a ton, but he affected the play a ton. He was always in the backfield. He was always stuffing the running game. He was pretty solid as a tackler. Him and his brother were all over the place during that game. I keep talking about somebody mentioned him as a Tasmanian devil is what they described him as, and that's absolutely what he looked like. So I think he definitely rose his stock a little bit, especially in such a big game, on such a big stage. But he's definitely someone that he screams Bengal to me as a Bengals fan. He's the type of guy I could see them targeting, especially if he's there in like round 3. It'll be interesting to see, especially with Logan Wilson getting a little older. Now, probably my most heartwarming player of the week, Dante Corleone. As a Bearcat fan so I'm a Bearcat fan and a Bowling Green State University fan and a Buckeyes fan. Those are schools that I either grew up liking or, went to. So, I've got a little bit of allegiances across the college football. But Dante Corleone is a guy that I absolutely love as just a person and as a player from early on in his career. And his stats weren't too much, but the tape was so good. He plugged up holes across the entire line. He was taking on double teams. He had a really, really nice pressure. I thought he looked closer to his 2023-2022 film. And if that continues, he's going to go up boards. I still think he's probably going to be a day 2 guy, just because of his age and the medical concerns. But I thought it was a very positive bounce back. I believe they have Bowling Green State University this week, which is interesting because it's the 2 teams that I have grown up liking or attended. So that'll be fun to watch them play my alma mater. Now, Darius Taylor, running back from Minnesota. This is one of those that, there's another running back in their backfield that people thought maybe might take over some of the snaps from him, but he was the bell cow for that team. He was the highest graded offensive player on his team, according to PFF. He had 30 carries for 141 yards. Now, he was a little poor in the yards after contact per attempt. I would like to see that improve a little bit. But he also had 4 catches on 5 targets for 36 yards. Most of them were dump offs, but still, he made the catches, got a little bit upfield. But one of the most interesting things, his pass blocking. His pass blocking was so good, highly graded, and he looked good on film too as a pass blocker. It was only 11 pass blocking snaps, but if you're trying to be a 3-down back in the NFL, you got to be able to do that. And that's exactly what he looked like to me. He looked like a future 3-down back in the NFL. And I'm excited to see if he continues that and if he continues to be the bell cow for that team, because if he does, he's going to have some absurd stats, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go on day 2. Now, another one of my big letdowns for the week was Joe Royer. Joe Royer is a guy that I called my tight end 1. And a guy that I thought would be phenomenal this year. And he had 3 receptions on 4 targets for a grand total of 11 yards. It's a whopping 0.37 yards per route run, which does have some predictive capabilities for success in the NFL, according to Gridiron Grading. He did hold up as a blocker, but I kind of feel like he was used poorly. I didn't see him getting out into space much. I didn't see him running anything other than real short routes. And I think the biggest issue was probably his quarterback play. Brendan Sorsby was not good, played very poorly, and he didn't get the ball out to his guys, and he was constantly pressured. So that was definitely something that probably influenced that. But yeah, definitely not a great start to my tight end 1 narrative. I'm still hopeful. It's a long season, can bounce back. But not good. Did not look good for Joe Royer. Now, Eric McAllister, wide receiver from TCU. He's the guy that I was like, he's going to have a breakout because all the other guys left. So he's going to be the star of the show. And that was not the case. The transfer from Idaho, Dwyer, was the guy that stole the show and was unreal. He definitely made himself some money this week. He's going to keep doing that this season, I'm pretty sure. I talked about Dwyer on the NFL Draft Fanatic, the Draft Professor podcast, a while back, and thought he could be a guy that breaks out, and I was right. But at the um, you know, made my Eric McAllister pick not look great. So he was a bit of a letdown. Like I said, three receptions, 20 yards on 5 targets. One thing that I did like to see, and they talked about on the broadcast, was this great downfield block that he had for Dwyer that led to a touchdown. You have to be able to do that as a big body wide receiver down the field, and he kept running, kept getting down the field, made some blocks. Another one of my Bearcats, Taron Tayo, interior offensive lineman. He moved to right guard from right tackle. He played right tackle at Ball State, and he moved to right guard for the University of Cincinnati. So going from Ball State to Cincinnati in your first game against Nebraska is a big jump in competition, but I really thought he held his own. He allowed one pressure and 31 pass blocking snaps, which is great. I do think he struggled against the run a little bit, lost leverage here and there. Going to need to improve his strength in the run game. But considering that was such a big jump in competition against a good team with a decent defensive line, I thought it was a good start to his season. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. Now, another one of my guys that moved positions, Brian Parker II out of Duke. He was their right tackle last year, I believe, and they moved him to left guard. If you remember my video about him, I said I'm pretty sure a lot of teams in the NFL are going to view him as a guard, and now he's going to have guard tape, which I think is going to help his draft stock. It's a better position for him, and he actually ended up being the highest graded offensive lineman on the team. He didn't allow a single pressure on 36 pass rushing snaps, so it was a really good start for him. The caveat to that is it was against Elon. Not Musk, but the team, Elon, which is not great competition. So I want to see if he continues to do that later on in the year when he faces some bigger competition. But I'm excited that he moved to left guard. I'm excited to see what he does this season in that position, because if he puts on really good tape as a guard, he's going to shoot up draft boards, at least in the guard rankings. Another guy I was super high on, the transfer quarterback to Iowa, Mark Gronowski. He never found rhythm as a passer. I think I was hopeful that he was going to have a great year and shoot up draft boards because of being able to make the Iowa offense a passing offense and use some of that. But unfortunately, if the offense they ran this week was the offense they're going to run all season, he's probably not going to be able to show his skill set too much. Like I said, he never found rhythm as a passer. He didn't have a ton of attempts, and he was definitely off target quite a bit. He looked great with his legs. He still does there. He's a great runner. But I really hope that they are able to open things up and let him throw the ball around a little bit this year, because the offense that they ran is not going to do what they think it should do, because you have to be able to be a threat in the passing game, or it's not going to work. And then I'm going to talk about John Michael Gillenborg, the tight end from Wyoming. Another guy that was a letdown. He was targeted 7 times, only made 3 catches for 19 yards, and he did have a drop that he should have made. Very low, 0.61 yards per route run. He had 34 run blocking snaps and 7 pass blocking snaps, and it did not go well. I didn't think he was much of a blocker anyways, but it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't something that suited him and something that he did well this game at all. I felt like they kept him in line too much this game because that's just not who he is. He can chip guys and get out there on the outside for some catches, but he's not an inline tight end. I'm hopeful. Still think he can have a good season, but it was not a good start. And that would bring us to our last guy, which would be David Bailey. I don't really know why, but David Bailey, Texas Tech, the transfer from Stanford, he only played in the first half, which, again, I don't know why, but he made his presence known in that first half. He had 6 pressures with a 33% win rate. He showed speed, he showed bend, he showed just the absolute ability to have very, very strong pressure and wreck a game. The quarterback can't get comfortable when you've got David Bailey coming around the corner that quick every time. So I'm pretty sure Texas Tech fans are pretty happy with the decision they made to bring him in because he looks like he's going to be every bit of the star I expected him to be. And I would not be surprised if he ends up being a first round or early second round guy, similar like Donovan Ezraku from last year. I could see him being that pass rush specialist that goes really high. So overall, I had quite a few guys that I thought, proved me right, and then quite a few guys that are maybe proving me a little bit wrong. So it'll be interesting to see as things go throughout the season. Some people take more time to get up to speed. We see that in the NFL too. Some players just take a few weeks to get going. So overall, I'm pretty encouraged. We hope to do this every week, give you a quick update on our players. But make sure you like and subscribe and join us on September 9th for our next live, where we will be going over the entire college football scene for the first 2 full weeks of the season and getting you prepared for the next couple weeks that are coming after that. As always, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Have a good one.